welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abassi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor, and this is take 3. I keep losing my train of thought, and we're just gonna try to just relax and not put so much pressure on myself. So let's see how this goes. Today, I want to talk about humility and the similarity that I feel in early sobriety, comparing it to humiliation. I heard that a lot this morning. And I've got 20 million thoughts going through my head. Maybe that's why I can't stay focused, but I don't want to not record, but I was about this close to not recording because I'm like, I can't keep my thoughts straight. It's part of the joys of being a stroke survivor. So I'm just going to talk anyway. So here we go. Early in sobriety, I was very confused by the word humility. Um, I was so used to shrinking myself that I felt like humility was the same thing. I thought that humility was like, you know, shrinking myself to make sure everybody else knew around me that I did not feel like I was better than them. Does that make sense? Like, I thought that's what humility was. And I had to keep looking up the definition whenever we talked about it in the steps. And it's interesting that everybody else that I listen to has issues with comparing humility with humiliation. And it makes sense to me because that's probably why I couldn't get past that idea of like shrinking myself. Um, my natural reaction, and I hear this from a lot of recovering alcoholics as well, that my natural reaction not is to believe that like I talked about yesterday, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. But on the other end of the spectrum, when I'm actually succeeding at something and somebody gives me a compliment, I will resist the compliment. It's like I purposefully create extra suffering for myself. I purposefully won't take accountability for successes. And I know when people give me a compliment, I feel uncomfortable. And what I heard somebody say this morning is, I have a hard time accepting compliments. And I thought, that's such an interesting choice of words. Accepting a compliment, because I have a hard time even hearing a compliment. But to actually accept a compliment as the truth, that's a whole different story. And I was really fascinated by that choice of words that this person used today. I'm so used to having these self-deprecating habits to like protect. I feel like I'm protecting myself, but I'm really reinforcing my insecurities. So when somebody gives me a compliment, um, I don't know what to do with it. It's like I don't know where to put it. I don't know where it's like handing me some sort of new kitchen gadget, and I'm like, I don't know what this is, and I don't know what drawer it goes in. I don't know what to do with it. Like that's how I feel when somebody gives me a compliment. But going that extra mile and like picking up that kitchen gadget and using it. What can I do with this? How is it going to make my life better? How can I use this kitchen gadget as a tool? That's a whole nother story. Not like what drawer can I stick it in, but how can I use it that to make my life better? And that's what compliments should be. Compliments, we should be able to accept them as the truth and use them to make my life better. Use them to alter and feed my self-talk, that self-shaming and that hurt self-talk that's very hurtful. I heard somebody say this morning, pain is optional, and yet I'm creating it. I'm creating it. So humiliation is automatic for me. That's my old coping pattern. Um, I would just like I talked about yesterday, creating a predetermined expectation of how something is going to go in my life. That is the same humiliation. Humiliation can either be a product of an interaction or it can be anticipated humiliation, and it comes in the shape of like a defensive behavior. So, how do I change that predetermined humiliation into humility? Humiliation is fear, and humility is willingness to look at the truth. So when I'm accepting a compliment, I can either do it with, if I'm accepting a compliment, I'm doing so with humility. If I have somebody give me a compliment and I'm uncomfortable and I kind of blush and I get all hot and sweaty, I almost feel humiliated that that spotlight has been shown on me. And I feel a bit of fear about, am I worthy? Am I worthy of that compliment? Um, how do we do it without discomfort? It's a good question, and I'm not here to tell you how to do it, but I can peel it back like an onion and look at like what it feels like inside of me when I receive praise. It's like I want to deflect it immediately. Well, oh, thank you, but and I want to just immediately have us all look at what you did good instead of me. And you know what's weird? Like when I think about when I was working and I would get a compliment, it's like, I want it. I want the compliment. I need the compliment. But as soon as I get it, I deflect it. It's like throw me the ball, throw me the ball. And as soon as somebody throws me the ball, I duck so that I so that I don't catch it or get hit by it. That's what a compliment feels like to me. And I'm trying to work on getting better at it, but I can tell you, like, when I talk to my psychiatrist on Wednesdays, usually at the end of our conversation, she gives me compliments. Like, I really appreciate how you are, trying to reframe these experiences, these mindsets that you are in, and you're doing a great job. You're really you have a great way of articulating whatever she has to say. And I just go, she knows that I don't like it, and I think that's why she does it on purpose. Like, I can't seem yet to feel humbled by the compliment. I don't want to feel anything. I don't want to believe that what she's saying is true. Well, I don't know why. If I believe what she's saying is true, then am I feeding my ego? Like, it's so confusing. Being a human is confusing. It really is. It's hard. It's hard to do that, and that's why I think it's important to try to talk about what it feels like inside of me, because maybe somebody can relate. Um, I think that when we receive a compliment, it's important to pause. Like, let the compliment land instead of explaining it away. Um, I can't address the difficulty of accepting a compliment if I don't first practice pausing and letting the compliment land. Um, Getting silent is uncomfortable. Hearing a compliment is uncomfortable. So, but that's what it takes. It takes getting uncomfortable to learn how to do this stuff. So there is some emotional work that needs to be done. And even though there's a part of me that when I get a compliment that I want to say, no, you're wrong. You're you're wrong about me. You're seeing something about myself that I'm still learning to see about me. There's nothing wrong with that. But when I actually reject it and I say or think, no, you're wrong, I'm not that good, it feels like I'm protecting myself from being arrogant, like I said, the ego. And I think pausing and letting it land might dictate what my next action will be. Will allow like space for my response to change. I think, especially after spending my whole life not knowing how to do this whole receiving compliments thing, much less accepting a compliment, doing that my whole life, making a decision to be willing to pause, let a compliment land, and then accept it is going to be courageous. It's going to require, I think it's going to be interesting to see, will my confidence grow when I stop an internal argument about how good other people see me, you know? Um, will I start to see myself the way that other people do if I pause and allow the compliment to sink in? It's interesting, but humility it ties into all of that. Being able to like create this emotional ease when will it is a pathway to freedom. A pathway to freedom for me is serenity. Humility allows me to get honest and look at myself honestly and with gratitude and openness, and also with a connection to that other person who's complimenting me. If I allow that or accept the compliment, me and that person are going to get closer. That's what's going to happen. And I am breaking down a wall. I am no longer protecting myself. And instead, I'm starting to ground myself in self-esteem. And self-esteem is something that comes up all the time in my morning meeting. There's somebody who talks about it all the time, that was his biggest turning point when he started to see that he had self-esteem. So it just like everything else, I think humility, and this idea of like accepting a compliment, I think it all starts with the pause again. Instead of like, I have a tendency to want to start talking when things get quiet. And usually when somebody gives a compliment, it's quiet afterwards because they're waiting for your response. And I don't want it. I don't want it. The, I don't want the ball to hit me. Throw me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball, and then ducking. But I think I can practice by saying thank you without qualifiers. The qualifiers is what I'm using to fill the space. Thank you. But let's talk about what you do and how wonderful you are so everybody will stop looking at me and talking about me. The more that I pause, the more I'm going to be able to preemptively shift my mindset into a more humble but honest self talk. And I'll be able to start hearing maybe some positive truths about myself because my self talk and my self deprecating shame, like, it's terrible, but it's so much louder than any compliment anybody could ever give me. Another idea is when somebody gives a compliment to write it down, write it down on a sticky note and put it on your mirror or something like that. Explore why it feels uncomfortable when you look at it. Like if somebody says, "Oh, I don't know, you're really smart." I don't know. That's terrible. You're smart. Write it down on a sticky note, put it on your mirror, and just keep reading that. You're smart. Why do I feel uncomfortable when I look at that? Um, I can tell you, like when I think about if somebody says to me, "You're smart," I immediately start flipping through a million images of all the times that I felt stupid in my life. But if I work on making that film roll stop and focusing on the moment and letting that compliment just sit inside of me, then I'm more apt to be able to start believing it. So reflect on the idea that about humility, about honesty, about the pain from old habits, and how maybe we're generating our own pain and it's not necessary. When we are aware by pausing, we can we can change the stories within our head and then invite ourselves to start seeing, believing the truth that others see about us, that we are worthy, that we are enough, and most importantly, that we are growing. And maybe I'm not great at accepting compliments, but I can be if I notice that this is something that some inner work that I need to do. And so now we've brought it up to the surface. So we're going to work on accepting compliments, not receiving, not hearing, but accepting compliments. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.